There's riders, even though it's not fully strung out, suffering from not only the little bit of incline, but just that wind even be in between the houses that they're in right now.
We talk about the distances we've done. We talk about as well, Sean, that the way that this race has been ridden. I think there's only been one day where we had a modicum of quiet, but ever since then it's been extremely loud. There's nowhere to hide, is there, if you're off colour, or indeed off suddenly finding your resources depleted, whether that's illness or just the way the course has been ridden.
Well, we're into that stage in the race now, you know, where the fatigue just comes in. Some of the riders that, you know, are not recovering well. In a 3-week race, it's all about your recovery first of all. If you're in good health or if you're injury free, that's another problem, and we're seeing a lot of that here. You know, sickness is starting to set in. Also riders from you know, crashes that injure carrying that. And it's all about how good you are and how fresh and how well you feel here. And the riders that are up in the front here, you know, those riders are the ones who are feeling really good. They want to be in the breakaway of the day. And there's a lot of riders on the rear of the peloton. You know, they're just hoping that things will calm down. But unfortunately, as we can see here, this open section is not going to calm at all here. 36 seconds at the moment. This has proven a difficult one, and we can see Jaco and Lulu have disappeared off the front of the peloton. So for Visma Lisa bike, this is going to be a long, very difficult chase.
They should have, sorry Colton, they should have the help of Soudal Quickstep as well though, you know. I think for Lisa bike, you know, they've got Jonas there, who is arguably in a better position at the minute than Remco is, even though Remco's sitting one place above him. But if I was in that Quickstep car, I'd be saying we need to get on the front, because we don't want Adam Yates creeping back up to where you are, Remco, or near to where you are. So if I was them, I know it's only at 35 seconds, but that's 35 seconds that you wouldn't want Adam Yates to have on you.
And it's been holding firm, Adam, as well, as we nudge up towards the 40 now. Let's go downstairs and speak to Matt Stevens, who is tracing proceedings for us on the bike.
85, 90 kilometers an hour. We've just exited that previous beautiful medieval town, and the wind direction is coming from the side, but right now it is ever so slightly in their face, hence the shape of the peloton. But believe you me, if we turn a little bit to the left and that wind becomes a cross tailwind, this could become very difficult. But right now it is a very slight head crosswind, but only a fraction of change will cause a massive bit of difference. So if you're on the left-hand side of the middle of the bunch right now, you're relaxing, but if you're on the front in the wind, it's very, very hard. So a cross headwind at the moment. Back to the commentators.
Thank you, Matt. Adam, you've been on the bike as well. You get a great sense of perspective when you're down there so close to the peloton. It's invaluable for us. I'm not sure how many teams are watching in to actually take it as well, but they've got to take whatever is presented to them, I guess, at the moment, such as this. And at the moment, the wind is blowing, and we're expecting big gusts as well, just to make life even more difficult.
We are, yeah. I mean, the wind's going to be there all day. It's not going anywhere. A couple of changes in direction, which means you're going to have to be at the front of affairs the whole day long. You know, the GC teams, the sprinters teams. I'm surprised with the sprinters teams, there's not a single rider from Wanty as well within this group, which is quite a big surprise for me. I know they've got Binny and Gamay, and this is not the worst thing in the world for them in terms of those green jersey points will disappear up the road to ultimately keep him safer. So no one's really going to gain much on him. No one's going to edge close to him because he's got such a big lead already. But for me in that team, the way Binniam's been going, I'd like to see them personally try to bring this back and give Binniam another opportunity in that jersey. I know it's a bit of a risk, but at the same time, no risk, no reward. Sean's shaking his head.
Yes, yeah. Well, they played a different game yesterday, didn't they, Sean? They tried to put a man in the breakaway and kind of control it. Try and jimmy on a big break. It didn't happen. So this is kind of their plans for yesterday, working for them today. I mean, all the points are going to go. There's going to be no change in the gap between Philipsen and Gamay. He's going to be more comfortable, I would suggest, with this break going away.
Well, they're not going to be able to do anything here, and certainly not going to do it because this break is just too much of a power breakaway, and they are going to wait and see if it comes back together. Fine for Intermarché Wanty. If it doesn't, they're not concerned. But we can see here Jaco Lulu starting to come to the front. But Ineos, I was just going to say that at what point will they put a man? Because when you look at Adam Yates, we have Carlos Rodriguez, who's up there ahead of him. But Yates is a danger when you cannot give him a number of minutes here, because then he gets into that position.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Visma Lisa bike on the right-hand side.
Well, they've been riding for a long time, Visma Lisa bike, and this is nothing new. But Ineos is the one I was expecting them, and this is the situation of the team. Visma Lisa bike waited off for a long time, far too long. They were, just waiting for Jaco Lula to kill themselves and then put some man in the front. So you have to, immediately you have to make the decision, okay, get a man or two in there and close it down. But yeah, as you say, Adam, this is where it's going to split.
Adam, all of a sudden, Vingegaard says go, and Pogacar straight onto it. He's having to marshal them, but what an effort, what a drive being put in here by Wout van Aert, amazing.
Look at the man in the middle there in the white behind the front group. That is Remco Evenepoel, just on his own trying to bridge across that. Tadej Pogacar has made it. So the guys that they want to get away from them, they want to drop, they have not dropped so far. Remco Evenepoel, the second to last man within that group. But look at the numbers in there. Tadej Pogacar only with one extra teammate. Yes, he's got a man up the road, but Visma Lisa bike here, I mean, if there's a demonstration of how strong that team is on days like this, there it is, right in front of your eyes.
Unbelievable, Adam. It went from 42 seconds to 31 in very, very short order. There's a lot of power there.
There is a lot of power there, Carlton. There's only a few guys, but they will be all committed now. Safest place to be. I think that looks to be as well Victor Campenaerts on the back of that group, but look at this now, the other teams that have missed out on this, they're a long way back. We spoke about Wanty. That could have been a place for them to get in to protect Biniam Gamay in there. Mark Cavendish has sprinters out. Philipson's missed out. Rodriguez has missed out from the Ineos Grenadiers as well. We're just speaking about that, Sean. Geraint Thomas down at the bottom left-hand side of our screen there. There's Rodriguez in the middle.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one with that up in pace by Visma Lisa bike, notably Wout van Aert. Will they work together in the front? That is the question. And 37 seconds we're getting, and that is this group, as we can see here, is coming down. But will it be one where they will all contribute here and continue? But it's Visma Lisa bike who are the ones who are really pushing on here. We can see Pogacar, he's looking around here. Is he contributing?
Ackerman as well, sorry, Sean.
Yeah, Ackerman, of course, and that's Almeida, is that there as well? So, will they contribute, because Yates up in front? And this is a big ask for the Visma Lisa bike men. And you ask the question, if you up that pace too much, well, then you're going to split it in this side winds. But then you find yourself, you're out here and you have to ride with, 3 men. Where if you stay in the peloton, Jaco Alula were contributing, and you get other riders will contribute. When you get into the really win situation, riders want to go through because they want to keep their place. And now they're a bit in, that no man's land for the moment. And this is going to be an interesting one. Will they be able to close this down to the breakaway?
Well, the front group's going to be so big if they do make it over there, Adam. It's almost going to be defined as the peloton, to be honest, rather than a break. It'll be magnified up to about 32, 34 riders.
Ooh, what's happening here? Ayuso
Not a bid on.
out the back. Not even a bid on there. So Ayuso right out the back. We've heard about the sickness that's going through the peloton, and hopefully for Ayuso it'll be all right. But the speed of the peloton, it looks like he's going backwards very, very quickly indeed. If Visma Lisa back here, by the way, they don't close this down quickly, this could be a big, big mistake for them, because they are in no man's land, as you said there, Sean. And how long are they going to keep going for? Because these guys will get wind of them coming across, and ultimately Visma Lisa bike, yes, they're making it's a good tactic to do what they're doing at the minute, but at the same time they've got Remco there, they've got Tadej there as well, they've got Jonas there. So the guys that they want to stretch and put in a difficult position, they're on the back of that group as well. Yes, if there's a problem for Tadej or Remco here, this turns into a great situation for them, because look how far the cars are behind. That's a long, long wait for them. But they need to make that gap, and they need to bridge it, because otherwise, as you say, they are going to be in no man's land for a long, long time. Almost 20 seconds now to this peloton.
Just looking at that clock of 22 seconds now, they're making inroads into this group. I don't think this is just about shaking out the likes of Yates and Tratnik from this front group. Yates, of course, is the best place within them, as Sean was saying, at 6 minutes and 59. This comes together. We're going to have a super group of around 33, 34 riders. If that forms, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. Is it just going to be truce declared, Sean, and then we start again?
Yes, I think if it actually comes back, this group behind. But we can see, the peloton also is really pushing on, because they are panicking as well. There's riders back there, the Ineos guys, they are going to have to ride now. and it's just all over the place here. And yeah, 21 seconds still for that group of Pogacar at the moment, with few riders on tow here. And yeah, you can see here Vingegaard is contributing, Remco is contributing, Capernas, of course, he is going to ride, and we can see the Visma men, their discussion here with Vingegaard. He wants his domestics to push on, but in the meantime he has Almeida and Pogacar on tow.
We've actually headed south from Nerach, and the next town will be Mézin. Once we get through there, we take a right-hander and we start to head out due west again. So yet another change of wind direction today. Whatever the wind, the peloton itself is generating plenty. We've had speeds up to 77 kilometers per hour for those of you who are only just joining us. And if you're wondering where the day went, we only have 134 kilometers remaining, only 165 today. So I think almost an acknowledgement of how difficult this deep into a race the Tour can be. But they have not spared the horses at all. From the very beginning today, Adam, it's been completely relentless. 21 seconds only the gap now. Do you think they're going to make it?
21 seconds at that speed, Carlton, is an enormous gap. That is a long, long way. No matter who you are within that group, no matter how strong you are, it's such a long way and a huge effort. Even if you sprinted flat out for 20 seconds, you still wouldn't get across to that group. That's how fast they're going. That's how difficult it is right now. So they need to get there, but it is a huge, huge effort for them. What I'm surprised about, Jasper Philipsen has missed out on that move from that group. Biniam Girmay has missed out from that route. Rodriguez has missed out from that group. There's so many riders within this group that have been sitting there. Jaco Aulula, they were riding before. It's so difficult. Tratnik's come back now to help the Visma Lease bike riders.
Well, from the description of the flags there before we make this little turn, it was a direct crosswind as they come from just rise up beyond the trees here, making this the big turn again, as we were mentioning. They're going to start to head due west as we come out of Mézin. I'm presuming this is the outskirts of it, so this is that right-hander I was telling you about that will bring us to a westerly direction. There will be a few jinks and dives before we actually settle into that direction, but nonetheless, that's going to be the character of it for now, for the next, probably about 30 minutes, I would say, Adam.
Yeah, I'd say so, Carlton. Just looking at the Ineos Grenadiers here on the front, they've got Pavel Sivakov from UAE just sat right on the wheel, but these are about to catch. That gap is not whatever gap it is right now. It's a lot closer than what we think by the looks of things, but judging where they were on the road, I think it's a lot closer than what it is. And that middle group with the Visma Lease bike riders, they need to go half road. They need to block out the other riders, the likes of Tadej Pogačar, the likes of Almeida, and they need to put them right in the gutter. They're giving them the space right now and letting them all rotate through. If they're just doing the work on their own, make Remco work hard in that win. Make
You can't
Tadej
do that
work
for the
hard
other
in the
jersey. You can't do that to Pogačar, put him in the gutter.
Of course you can, Sean. Make them work for it.
Well, it's absolutely relentless. I'm going to go and have a little lie down in a darkened room, I think, because
hopefully it's got a telly on, Carlton.
Yes, exactly. I'll put one on the ceiling while I lie down and regather myself. Time for us to be joined by Rob Hatch. Rob, what a start.
Wow, wow, wow. We have been entertained. We've only had half an hour. Juan Ayuso abandons the Tour de France with COVID. Apparently tested positive this morning. Juan Ayuso abandoning the Tour. But that isn't the biggest news today, because Adam Yates' teammate has an opportunity to be in the most luxury of luxury positions. He's being carried on in a group of 22 riders towards the front. He stands to gain. His teammate Pogačar sitting up as a passenger in the next group as well. UAE aren't having to ride at all. They've got their man at the front. The front group wants to win the stage. The second group's trying to save the day. This third group, all as well. I was going to say good morning, but it's passed so quickly. Adam, Sean, bonjour. How's it going? I think the response will be very, very happy with what you're seeing.
Oh, I love this. I mean, get me on the bike and get me in that gutter. I absolutely love days like this. It is wicked. And just from us, you know,
12 days previous of fatigue, no?
Well, no, just drop me in for one day. But no, this is exciting. That Visma Lease bike group almost coming back to the peloton now.
Done,
so that group out in front there, look, they're sitting up. That has a strong chance now. A very, very strong chance of going going clear. You know, they'll forget about the Adam Yates situation. They'll just try to ride a tempo to reduce that gap. There might be opportunities in the wind later on, but with these guys not being able to make it across, it's going to be difficult to bring that amount of riders back. 23 riders in that front group.
Sean, who rides now then?
Well, that is the question, and you know, looking back a number of kilometres earlier in this stage, what Visma, Lisa Bike done and Wout van Aert, that was a mistake. You have to just contribute with the others, and when you get into the wind situation, as we see a number of kilometres ago, when it was real open, then there'll be a lot more teams will get involved because they're all nervous, and now they're in a situation, who's going to ride?
We have quite the situation at the Tour de France on stage 13. Now, Jayco Alula returned to ride as the Visma Lisa bike group that had also Evenepoel and Pogacar in it.
Today's not going to be easy.
Passenger have been reabsorbed, and that 15-20 seconds we just had of apathy, of hesitation, has allowed the gap to grow to the front, to that group of the world champion. A group of absolute superstars. Tour de France stage winners in here, and several of them. But the big news is Adam Yates, who started the day in the general classification down at 6 minutes 59 in 7th place, has an opportunity to take a bunch of time here. And it's like Adam Blythe, all the ingredients have fallen into the perfect place for Yates today, because in here you've got 14 different teams of the 22 represented. You have quite a few sprint teams who aren't going to chase behind. You don't have too many here who've completely missed out at all. And of course, Intermarché, yes, they're winning. They won't be too bothered today, either will they? Because no one's going to threaten their green jersey from that front group. Maybe they'd ride towards the end, but they're not going to commit yet.
They might not even need to ride towards the end, Rob. That's the thing, you know, with that amount of riders in the front, all the points have gone. So why do they need to ride ultimately? You know, they might ride just in case of a split if that gap stays around there. But like you said, Adam Yates has played a blinder here. Yes, it's only 23 seconds, but he is the big stress. And I don't think that group is really going to get too much of a gap today. I think with him in there, and we can see riding behind Geraint Thomas from the Ineos Grenadiers, Soudal Quickstep with Yves Lampart starting to roll through. They're just getting the teammates together from different teams to try and create that group to start rolling through and just try and minimise that gap. You know, if it grows out a little bit more, it's not the end of the world because it's a relatively small gap. But in these situations, the stress rolling through this peloton now, the fight for position constantly, the changing of direction, another split might happen, and then you're on the wrong side of the split again, and those riders out in front might get a bit complacent, the gap might start to come down. All of a sudden you've got GC riders everywhere. So today it's full high alert day. You know, it'll be always said down that race radio, stay at the front, stay together as a team, stay at the front, stay together as a team, be ready to go.
Some of the GC teams are getting a little lucky in that they do have help from Jayco, who have missed it. They're starting to get help from Arcaire BMB, who've missed it as well. And of course, who will be angry yesterday after that relegation for Arnaud Démare. Astana Kazakhstan, of course, they've got Ballerini in front. Also, we hear Mark Cavendish was very angry about that decision yesterday. They, though, lost Fedorov yesterday. He was outside the time limit. Megan Mirko didn't start. He had COVID as well. They're down to, what, just 5 riders now. Cofidis down to 5 riders with Jesus Herrada not starting today. And again, all of those questions you start to ask about who rides, who doesn't. I think the likes of Visma Lisa Bike and Soudal Quickstep, maybe even the Ineos Grenadiers as well, have got a little lucky, and they've just got a couple of teams there to help them for the moment. But the gap's grown to 42 seconds. I will be very interested to see what sort of gap they get. Adam says it's not much of a big one. Sean, what's your view on that? What do you think they can get here?
Well, it's going to be a very interesting situation. When they get a gap of a minute and a half or 2 minutes here in this leading group, they're going to be looking around, and they're going to have the discussion with Adam Yates up here. They're going to be saying to him, you go back to that peloton here. We don't want you here because you're the man who's causing the problem, that they're continuing to ride out front. And when we get into this final, of course, you know, the final 50 kilometres is very difficult one. So they're going to need quite a nice advantage at that point. But there's a long, long road to get to that. And for the moment, they're continuing on, because if they start, discussion here and, they play about a bit, well then the advantage they've got is not enough to be able to do that. But I feel that they will start looking around and Yates will be the problem man. And in the meantime, it's going to be a very interesting one. Who's going to, continue on setting the pace on the front of the peloton? You would expect Visma Lease bike to have to do that. Ineos Grenadiers as well as another one should be continuing on. And Jake Alula, they took it up big time, and that was the mistake by some of the teams who did not put men with the old guys from Jaco Alula and close it down very quickly. And now it's got out of hand, and it's got out of hand with quite a long time already, quite a number of kilometres, and it's going to be a real interesting one to see what the next move will be, notably in the breakaway. That's what I'm interested about, to see what they will do with the danger man that's causing the problems here in the breakaway. Just in our picture, Adam Yates.
Adam, if you're Adam Yates, why would you cede? Why would you be bullied out the way? Because you're in an absolute luxury position here. You could get back in and be another card to play for your team, conceivably.
I mean, that's the thing, we've seen Adam Yates, just listen to this radio in from the Ineos Grenadiers.
Hey, keep collaborating with Quickstep if you can. Talk to Quickstep and Visma and keep collaborating. They also don't want Yates there.
Well, there's part of an answer then to what we can see about the gap. They're not going to allow it to grow, and all the GC teams are going to ride.
Perfect situation for UAE.
Will they?
We saw Adam Yates on the stage in the Galibier. He was the man that sat up first out of the three big names, Ayuso, Almeida and Yates, the three big domestiques who could be up there on the podium, possibly in Nice. Adam Yates was the first to drop off. He knows what he's here to do, and that is to help Tadej Pogačar. Doing what he's doing now is helping Tadej Pogačar by tiring the other teammates out. He isn't bothered about getting dropped because he's dropped himself out of that group already on the Galibier stage. But
in terms of helping Tadej Pogačar and his team, though, would it not be a help if this group took 3 or 4 minutes to then he's another card to play suddenly?
Of course it would, yeah, but at the same time, what he's doing right now in this situation is perfect for his team. They don't have to ride, he puts the pressure on the other teams, makes them work harder than what they really should be doing. And Adam Yates, of course, he's going to help Tadej Pogačar, but ultimately, what we've seen from years gone by with Adam Yates within the team alongside Pogačar, he hasn't got his own ambition. If he gets on the podium, gets up there, fantastic. But the priority is Tadej Pogačar and always will be within that team.
I don't think there's any question of that, but of course, being up there is another way to help his leader, isn't it? Let's get some view of the Ineos Sports Director with Matt Stevens now.
Right, I'm just going to have a word with Zach Dempster. Zach, this tour's amazing. Another frenetic stage. What's your assessment of the situation so far? You got Quieto in the move, but what about the GC perspective?
Yeah, I think it's a move that's not ideal for everyone, so let's see what happens. They could be racing all day, but I'm sure that people don't want to let Yatesy back into the race, so let's see how it evolves, and yeah, who knows.
And what about the wind playing its part today? It was pretty brutal earlier on. Are we going to see more changes a little bit later on?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fatigue in the bunch. There's some dangerous sections later on, but can't let you know where they are.
But always happy that a situation like this, at least have one man in the front.
Yeah, always better to have someone in the front. I think, like I say, Yatesy's not a guy you want to let back into the GC fight, but yeah, let's see how this all evolves.
Thanks very much, Zach. Cheers, mate. Always good to hear. Live on the road, the situation. Ineos Grenadiers with a man in the move, and they can just sit back at the moment and see how things unfold. Interesting stuff. Back to the commentators.
No, they can't. That they're not. Exactly, Sean. You were getting your wooden spoon out when Adam was giving the last answer. I could see you smiling and chipping in. Just a quick note that there are 7 former Tour stage winners at the 21 in front. Yates is one of them, but of course his chat here, his reason for being there, as we were just talking about and discussing with Adam, is to put pressure on behind and maybe become another card to play if that pressure is too much anyway, and they end up winning the battle and staying in front. You seem to suggest, though, as the gap is growing to almost a minute now, that not everybody would ride at the front.
Well, it's going to be difficult to get everybody to agree and start putting men to the front, and it's the same situation. They hold off, and then they see the gap is getting into a real panic situation, and then they will start riding. But we could hear from Ineos Grenadiers there, the man out front, Quieto, that's no good. With the company he's there, he's going to be able to do very little in the end of the stage, and it's not the situation they want at all within Ineos Grenadiers. Also, for Soudal Quickstep, it's a real difficult situation because Adam Yates, if you allow him to, stay out up the road here and he gets maybe 2-3 minutes at the end of the day, he becomes a danger man for the podium. And, we've seen that in the past. So for Ineos Grenadiers, when you look at where Carlos Rodriguez is, he is in a real bad situation at the moment. And on a stage like today, it's not a one you were expecting, not a one you want to give that advantage to a rider who could challenge for a place on the podium at the end of this tour. So it's going to be an interesting one, and at the moment it's growing out. But again, I think we will see, slowly there will be more teams that add a man to the front, and we can see here with Soudal Quickstep, they're starting to appear as well. But it's Ineos who are the ones who are really, I think, pushing the panic buttons.
It's not just that as well, we've got today and then one more sprint stage, guaranteed, pretty much. That's 2 opportunities left for the sprinters. Vinny and Gamai's won 3 of them. They're not going to be too bothered about it. Philipsen is won 1. And then 1 opportunity after this. It's not a lot. That team is almost not based on him, but he's the big guy here, including Van der Poel for his stages, but he's a little bit more of a gamble. If you were going to say, right, who's your best guarantee at probably winning a stage? Philipsen.
But they're not going to chase down a group that's got Van der Poel and Laurentsen, are
Never.
they?
No.
And let's be honest. I mean, there's 2 guys missing, so who are they going to chase them down with as well?
Not just those guys. Astana's missing. If a couple of sprint teams put 1 guy into that chase, just 1, that's given their chances a bigger opportunity. Ackerman's missing out from that front group. Yes, they've got a couple of riders in there, but for me, it's interesting, the sprint teams, all the sprinters that have missed it, they're not just putting just 1 rider into that chase to try and help ever so slightly. You can't just rely on the GC teams here and Jayco, just 1.
Sean's shaking his head, and I'm going to come to you on this, Sean. How do you then sit down at dinner that night with the same people who you've chased down? You're not going to be very popular, are you?
No, well, the sprinters teams, I don't think they're not going to take it up, and they're probably not capable of doing it, because this race, the way it's going at the moment, it's a real difficult one. So, they're going to sit back and wait and see what it is more so in the final.
We have had a rip-roaring start to stage 13 to Paul. It's funny, isn't it? Because Paul, I think down the years, has been sometimes sort of thought about as a bit of a sleepy stage. Not usually sleepy on the rest stage. We've had the odd bad bit of news, let's say, come out down there. It's got an interesting history as Paul, but save for some very famous wins. Mr. Kelly in 1982, and then that yellow jersey in 1983. I saw something in the Spanish cycling community last night, and they were having a joke, and they were saying, Paul, it's French for siesta, isn't it? Not today, no chance, no chance. This is an absolutely rip-roaring start.
Although there were some riders in teams having a bit of a siesta at the start today by the looks of things, Rob.
Maybe they've been listening to the same Spanish shows that I've been listening to last night.
Cracker of a stage. I am going to head out and let Mr. McEwen come and take my place for a little bit, and I shall be back shortly, gentlemen. I'm looking forward to it.
Don't take your eyes off it. No rushing off to Nando's.
Oh, I am not taking my eyes off of this. I love it. It's brilliant.
Robbie's got his hand up.
We just tag team, by the way.
Oh, right. I can only see his hand. I couldn't see his face. I thought he wanted to speak then.
I'll spare you the looking at my face, Rob. I'll just let you hear my voice. You know what they say, I got a face for radio.
Shame you're on the telly then, isn't it? I'm sure you'll have enjoyed this.
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, as a spectator, this is what you want to see. As a rider in the Tour, this is not what you want to get. But this has been coming in the thoughts of many of the teams for a few days. That's why it's so surprising that there were teams and riders caught out, because the forecast has been saying we were getting westerly winds, gusts up over 40 kilometres an hour, sustained breeze of 25 to 30. That's exactly what we got. And there's so many experienced team directors that have over the years seen what's happened on the various stages into Paul. We've had a few sprints, yes, but we've had a lot of breakaways and we've had a lot of difficult days. And it depends which direction you come in, the kind of difficulty you get. Sometimes it's through the Pyrenees and back to Paul. then it's the mountains that cause the difficulty. But coming from this direction, from the north, across the flatter lands, where it's exposed and the wind is up, it becomes treacherous.
You go back to the tour presentation in November. This stage was designed with this sort of scenario in mind. The front, they're slowly winning the battle, and they've been winning it for a long while now. 1 minute, 2 seconds.
I'm looking forward, Rob, to seeing at what point, what sort of gap this group gets before we start getting passages that they think, okay, I've done my share, I've helped create the gap, defend our gap, now I can start sitting on.
Jonas Abrahamsen had spent 764 kilometres in the breakaway before today. And guess what? He's at the front of the race yet again. Already on the way to becoming the super combatif of the Tour de France. Today's with his teammate Marna Skård, and they are with 20 other riders, including Adam Yates, who's posing a big problem in this peloton behind for those trying to take on the yellow jersey. Adam Yates' teammate Pogačar is enjoying his 31st day in charge of a Grand Tour this season. Yes, that's just this season. And Sean Kelly is going to wave goodbye as we welcome Danny Rowe back. Sean off to recover after a very, very quick start. Danny joins Robbie McEwen and me, Rob Hatch. We're on our way to Port for the 75th time in the history of the Tour. It's going to be a start or finish today. Few towns are as interwoven into the fabric of the Tour as Port. I tell you what, though, this promises to be one of the more memorable visits, doesn't it? Danny, I know you've been watching this, you've been enjoying the start. How have you seen Adam Yates' stealth passage into this group and the panic that it's created behind?
It's getting juicy, isn't it, Rob? And we didn't really need more excitement. This Tour de France has been epic every single day. But we did talk about it on the breakaway this morning, and the wind's playing a factor of today's race, and it has kind of split naturally after the excitement of those riders trying to get in the break of the day. But yeah, I mean, perfect situation here for Adam Yates and the team. And also for the days to come, sitting back, not having that pressure on their shoulders to chase is going to save the energy of these riders who, a few days ago, we were worried about doing too much in the quest for the yellow jersey with Pogačar.
Just a word of appreciation for this young man, Frank van den Broek, the Dutchman. You remember stage one?
Unbelievable.
It's hard to think back that far with all the excitement all the excitement we've had. But Frank van den Broek, the engine of the Romain Bardet victory on stage one of this race. How good to see him still in the frame of mind and still with the physical capacity to get himself into this break, be one of the drivers of it. Fantastic ride by the young Dutchman. Well, that says it all, doesn't it? I guess the red cross on the back of the car. If you think to the abandonment of Primož Roglič after yet another crash.
Well, with the way it's gone, we really haven't had too much time to talk about the riders who didn't start. Jesus Herrada was one of the two non-starters, but of course the headline was poor old Primož Roglič. And a Rogless race is a race that's poorer, isn't it? Because he's one of the characters, he's one of the fighters and battlers and warriors. He's extremely popular. The story has. I know some people get fed up that we repeat it, so I won't go there, but we know where he came from. He's a unique rider, and the big four became the Three Musketeers today. Interesting to see how it goes going into the mountains, but this situation on the road could change how the mountains are approached when we get there tomorrow.
Oh, with Adam Yates putting himself into the break. My other question, and what I'm curious to see, and it depends on how this chase evolves. Now it's gone back out to over a minute, but if it starts getting closer again, or there's just too much time pressure on the break that's formed out the front, when the pressure is applied by other riders in the break to Adam Yates to leave them and go back so they can clear out and contest the stage amongst themselves. Because it wasn't for Adam Yates, they would be 5-6 minutes up the road already.
Now let's go to the radio here. 3.5 hours. Sounds like nothing, eh, when you say it like that?
Well, if it's going to take them 3.5 hours, I reckon they'll be 10 minutes behind the bunch based on that estimate, because I think it's going to be even faster.
Yeah, it's absolutely rapido, isn't it, already? The average 49.3 kilometres an hour so far. They're looking, of course, for Sam Bennett for today's stage, who, yeah, has got a chance. Hasn't been as good as he's been previously, of course, but will still be so motivated for a stage victory, with only 2 left to come, arguably, for the sprinters in today and stage 16.
Well, interesting to see if they commit and how much. We've started to see a few different teams on the front. Geraint Thomas was riding there at the front for Ineos Grenadiers. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Adam Yates naturally is going to continue to contribute to this group that's leading right now. This is Axel Laurence, the under-23 world champion, and now the senior world champion, Mathieu van der Poel. Still only ever won just the one Tour de France stage. Of course, he's got a million other achievements that we could gloss over and talk about all day. Palmer had to be in the break. They've got to be in every break now, haven't they? Jeunet's, this is Abramson. We know him well, don't we, this tour? And Nielsen Paulus from the United States, flying the flag for EF Education Easy Pros. So, with the situation as it is for the moment, let's go and hear from the leader of the race, who is speaking us right at the start.
Had a possible crosswind out there. How are you guys looking at this stage? What have you been talking about in the bus?
Yeah, it's can be crosswinds, but yeah, we'll see. It's for sure a lot of stress, and for sure me as a yellow jersey need to be in front, and then maybe don't split.
Good one today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks,
Maybe it doesn't split. Well, it did split, and his teammate was in the right place. And then Pogačar followed that move beautifully. Did exactly what he needed to do in there. Had a teammate. He has lost a teammate, though, today. Juan Ayuso has abandoned the race after reports surfaced in the Spanish press overnight that he had tested positive for COVID. João Almeida still up there in the top 10. Adam Yates in 8th position before Roglic didn't start, so he's now in 7th. So a lot of riders already moving 2 up today before the start even occurred.
Yeah, improving your general classification just by starting the day is, for those riders, a bonus, but not the way they would have wanted to do it, because everybody, you know, they've been in that situation at one stage or another in races where they've had to abandon due to either illness or injury, and you don't want to see anyone go out like that. However, with the abandonment, just looking at the UAE team, with the abandonment of Juan Ayuso, if you were going to lose anybody of your climbing lieutenants, then I'd suggest that the loss of Ayuso to Tadej Pogačar is probably the best possible scenario, compared to losing a Yates or an Almeida for the amount of experience they've got and the way they've been working in this race so far. And we sort of look at the early few days of Juan Ayuso riding like he's... And he's correct, those other teams have to ride. So just going to say that Ayuso would, look to be riding quite a lot for his own chances, keeping something in reserve where the others have really sort of laid it on the line, even though they're high up on GC.
Yeah, potentially. I think my biggest worry here now is that illness spreading throughout the camp. Who's been rooming with Ayuso? You know, we saw for Bahrain with Fred Wright and then Pale Bilbao how quickly it can spread through the camp, because these riders are so depleted, their immune systems are suppressed. And that's a big worry for me. We just heard from Arkea B&B there, and these directors sportifs now with these riders in the group behind, they're just trying to offer up as much motivation to their riders as possible. You know, there's so many teams here behind that have missed it and not happy with Adam Yates up ahead. Just trying to keep that momentum in that group behind.
And you hear also, where we heard you earlier, Rob, speaking with Adam about the possibility of if sprint teams just offered up one rider into the chase, they could shut this thing down. But we hear other teams saying, nope, it's the responsibility of Ineos and Soudal to do the chasing, so we're going to sit back, we're going to gamble on that, save our resources. And it happens so much at sort of this stage of the race, halfway through a Grand Tour, energy conservation, trying to keep all your lead-out guys or guys for later on. If you offer them up this early in the stage, 110k to go, there's more crosswinds down the road happen all over again.
I was just going to say, I was wondering if, you know, we get later down the line, the gap opens up slightly more, whether we will see that, you know, that offering up of one of the riders from those sprint teams, because ultimately, if they don't, it could be a wasted opportunity.
Well, what if you empty yourself in the chase? You do chase down the break that's up the road now, all comes back together, you've exhausted yourself, next crosswind section splits again, you're out the back, and voila, out of the time limit, your race is over. Well, yeah, but that is the gamble. So they just say, sit back for now, long way to go. It's only 51 seconds, so they don't need to just yet.
There's quite a few sprint teams you have riders in the breakaway, though.
That too.
Quite a few. And in fact, there are two sprinters themselves in the breakaway, in Vandenberg and De Lee. They are certainly not going to work. And again, like I said before, just imagine going to dinner tonight, the one stage that you might have had an opportunity in a great breakaway, and you've been chased down. You've got to sit down, but you're not going to be popular.
You're not going to be popular, and also the intent from Alpecin to Koenig now, they're clearly happy with having Mathieu van der Poel up here rather than Philipsen, so it's going to be a tough day for them behind.
Rob and Danny, I think now, seeing this time gap, it's gone under a minute, it was down around 51 seconds. This will be the point at which riders in this break will start to, at the very least, look at Adam Yates as if to say, it's time now, off you trot.
But again, you know, there'll be people sitting at home who aren't very well versed in cycling politics or taxi and say, hang on a minute, why should he do that? Why should he, you know, he's every much right to be there as everybody else.
And it's a reasonable question, and I know you know the answer, Rob. The thing is, with Adam Yates, you know, highly placed on GC, started the day at 7th. The reason for the chase behind is because Adam Yates is in there. Nobody else is a threat on general classification. He's at 6 minutes 59. The rest of the group, the next best is at 33 minutes. Julien Bernard. That is absolutely zero threat to anybody. So the chase behind is being led by GC teams because their positions are being threatened by Adam Yates. If he wasn't there, the break would get the freedom, it'd go up the road, and those ones in the break will be fighting out the stage victory. So they need to get rid of Adam Yates. It's still hanging in the balance a little bit, but at a certain point, I wonder if even his team may tell him to sit up, because the other thing you don't want to do is make enemies in the peloton with a number of teams.
But I mean, there's a few teams who made enemies anyway. Visma Leasebike mustn't have been very popular when they did what they did then, instead of working together with all the other teams. I'm just going to come in as well, because you talked about the gap coming down. There are now 5 teams committed to working at the front. They are J.K. Lula, Ineos Grenadiers with at least 2 riders, including Geraint Thomas, Decathlon Agile, Cofidis, and Arkea BMB.
So out of the teams that are riding, there's potentially 4 that will continue to ride. So if Ineos could stop, if Adam Yates sat up, Ineos could say, that'll do us. We're happy with that. We've got Kwiatkowski in the break. Let him do his thing. And there's no threat to Carlos Rodriguez' GC position from Yates. They could pull the pin on the chase. The others, though, they're riding for sprinters. Decathlon were told just before we heard in the radio communication, 3.5 hours of suffering, just go with everything you got. Let's try and get a stage result. Arkea BMB went close initially with Arnaud Demar yesterday, then relegated, but okay, so what? He went close to crossing the line first. They're just seizing the opportunity for another possible shot at a stage win.
Yeah, and I can't see him sitting up. I mean, it's perfect for them and the team looking forward, looking ahead at this race. It's not just today that they're going to be taken into consideration as to what is this going to take out of the other GC teams. We've got a huge 2 days to come in the mountains, so they're not worried about making enemies, I don't think, in the peloton behind. This isn't in their nature. This isn't the way they race their bikes.
Is that for UAE?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they're not making enemies sort of in the peloton. It's sort of the thing of making enemies of the guys who are in the break with you, because you effectively, by keeping Yates there,
wants to be lower on the list,
ruining the chances of everybody else in this break of winning this stage from this break.
I don't think they're going to worry about that. You know, they've got bigger fish to fry here, and they're thinking about the yellow jersey.
Yeah, they maybe already made a few enemies in a way the other day, the way they rode in the stage that ended up being won by Jonas Vingegaard. They could have easily let that break go that day, and they chose to chase all day, be really aggressive, shut down everybody else's moves.
My point exactly.
Yeah, but I think this is at the moment, if I was their director, I'd say to Adam Yates, stay there for now, see if the chase blows up. Then it's great. If it got down to 30 seconds, 25 seconds, I'd be on the edge of saying, sit up, go back, and then the break should still be able to go.
Fascinating. The politics of it all, eh? There is Yates, white jersey on, yellow helmet. UAE Emirates still lead the team classification. Tadej Pogacar leads the race. He's now led a Grand Tour for more days than Fausto Coppi did. 51. Of course, 30 Grand Tour leaders' jerseys just this season, by the way. If he wants the most in a season ever, he's got 7 more to go. Eddy Merckx did that in 1970. But, of course, there were more stages in the Tour then. He had 23 yellow jerseys just from the Tour de France.
Oh, yeah, stages A and B in certain editions of the Tour on the same day.
Back to the radio in the meantime.
Talk to Remco and tell him that if they put 2 and also the Visma, then we will also put G, okay? G and Castro can work, and then we're 6 working there.
And that seems to have happened because just looking, I've seen a Visma rider now at the front as well, and it looked as though there was a blue and white jersey from Soudal Quickstep not far away. May well have been Yves Lampaert, who did start working initially, and then of course we had those other teams coming in, and again we had what Robbie was just talking about before. Yeah, well, we'll hang on and we'll save, you know, waiting, but no, look at all these guys committed now.
And this is what's so intriguing about cycling. They're joining forces, they're making alliances between themselves now, in the best interest of both the teams who want this to come back.
That's 7 teams working, by the way, now.
And still holding at 52 seconds.
All right, last one. Let's do it.
Yates needs to stay there for now.
Just shows the strength of the breakaway.
Yep, strength of the break, and then potentially an eventual weakness of the chase, that they're unable with that many riders to make a big impression, and it may yet blow up as they, you know, we're 12 days deep. Well, 13 now. 12 full stages behind the riders already. Fatigue is a huge element of what riders are capable of at this point in the race, and this chase could yet fizzle out. Just taking a few seconds back, but just back to that politics within the race and creating enemies and what could happen. You look at yesterday, there was a crash early on that Tadej Pogacar was caught up in. Yellow jersey caught behind. There were 4 riders off the front. There's still lots of counter-attacking going on until that crash happened. Held up the yellow jersey, so all the counter-attacks stopped. Then the 4 move clear, Bunch shuts down. He safely makes his way back to the peloton. If you then, after today, make enemies, there's riders and teams who are annoyed at you for keeping Adam Yates in there until your breakaway gets shut down. Go forward another day or 2. You have a similar situation possibly to yesterday. Pogacar gets held up by something. There may be riders that say, you know what? I'm not going to stop trying to get in the break. I'm not going to shut down the Bunch and let him easily come back. If it's a crosswind stage around Nim, for example, so what, yellow jersey? You annoyed me the other day. You shut down our break by doing what you did. So we're just going to keep going. See you later.
I think this is a different situation to me, though. That's almost the respect of the yellow jersey in a crash versus, you know, what's happening out on the road, and having a rider that was capable, was there at the right time to get themselves in the break.
Yeah, but don't underestimate the irritation of guys who have their chance of the stage win ruined.
This has been in the playground.
It is though. It really is.
All right, let's do this.
Into Occitanie. We've been weaving our way between Nouvelle-Aquitaine and Occitanie, right on the border. 45 seconds, and the introduction of different riders riding has really brought it back. Geraint Thomas having a word with those other riders, as we heard. That's Bart Lemon, Bruno Amirai, Chrysio Jensen, Geraint Thomas we mentioned, Jonathan Castroviejo. They're not just any riders as well. They're some of the strongest riders in the whole pro peloton who are working hard to bring back a group that, yes, was massively committed at the front. Yes, he's still riding here. but you feel you're starting to get to that moment where not everybody is as full out as they were. Everybody's starting to think about what ifs. We've heard the politics and the playground arguments between Robbie and Danny, and they're all valid arguments.
I just spotted, I was looking back in the bunch, keeping an eye on where Adam Yates is riding within the group, and seeing the riders coming back to as they go through and off, seeing if anyone is going to pay him any attention. And I was just thinking, I reckon I know who's going to be the first one to say something. Rui Costa turned to Adam Yates and just said something to him, because Yates' head turned towards Costa as he was spoken to. So it's starting.
Well, let's just say that Senor Costa has quite the reputation. So I'm not sure how well that would go down with most of the riders. Never mind there, Adam Yates.
Well, Rui Costa's normally the guy who, to put it very kindly, in a breakaway, he's doing only as much as the guy doing the least.
Hey, I mean, from my side, that is not a criticism. I'm just telling you how he's perceived by other riders. I think he's an absolute Rolls Royce of a bike rider. He's won so many races, 3 tour stages, world championships, and he's still winning late into his 30s. I think he's an absolute superb bike rider.
He is.
You speak to people in the peloton, and there's generally an eye roll.
Yeah, he's a very good bike rider, but he is ruthless. He's not here to take prisoners. He's here to try and win bike races, and he doesn't care if his style annoys others and they don't feel he's contributing as much as they are. He says, that's fine by me. I'm here to win bike races and then retire and sit back in Portugal and enjoy the fruits of my labour. So get on with your own race. But yes, it does make others roll their eyes when you talk about Rui Costa.
He's a great bike rider. And he's great for us. He's great entertainment for one of those, because he's different, isn't he? And the way he goes about it is different. He's being chased down, though, like the other 21 are. And the gap continues to come down here, Danny.
Yeah, and I just saw
3 seconds.
Geraint Thomas talking into his radio there, and it looked like Thomas Pidcock was just moving up ever so slightly. So I'm wondering if they're going to offer up another rider in this chase now, because we are getting closer to another exposed section at 89 kilometres to go. So they are going to want to close this as soon as possible.
Welcome back, everybody. We are more than 5 minutes ahead of the fastest predicted schedule, based on 47 kilometres per hour. It's a rip-roaring start to this tour stage. It rolls on, they chase on, and for the next little while, I'm going to hand you over to Carlton Kirby.
Thank you, Rob. Absolutely breathless. We've said that time and time again during this Tour de France. I think there's only been one day where, after a big climbing day to Point-Marie, we had a little bit of quiet, perhaps at the top. And maybe the day, of course, after Galibier as well, where finally today, well, we got ourselves a breakaway established. It's an enormous one of 21 riders, but the quality within it is absolutely outstanding. And because of that, there's a problem. It includes Adam Yates. They're trying to bully him out of the break. He's going absolutely nowhere for the time being. And those who are chasing on into the gap have got their work cut out. They've finally established an accord. There are 7 teams that have got together and decided that it may well be worthwhile just charging into this gap. One of those teams is Jayco Alula. Now, they were the first to really start off in pursuit of this amazing super group. Well, the travelling Wilburys at the moment have got an advantage of around 45 seconds. But Jayco, Decathlon, Bora, Soudal, Cofidis, Intermarché, Arkea, they missed it. Here's Jayco.
You have been second there before in the tour. It looks interesting, the parkour, a bit hilly in the final, but also possible crosswinds out there. What are you guys thinking about today's stage?
I think also what the other team's thinking. Can be windy, can be break, but on the end can be also a sprint. The thing is that Alpecin lose now 2 guys. Yeah, also they still also a crash, so yeah, you need to see how much control there is, and yeah, that's not always in our hands.
How are you doing? You said it was a tough stage yesterday, Dylan. How are the legs?
Yeah, it was really hot yesterday, but also in the end was a lot of climbing. Small climbing, but yeah, in the end was more than 2,000 altitude meters. So for a sprinter, that's a lot, and I could feel it in my legs in the end. But yeah, we hopefully we can put me in good position today.
And finally, are we going to see the Batman glasses in the final?
I think I will put it on today. I think it will stay dry. So yesterday was a bit rainy in the start. So yeah, today it's the day again.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Groenewegen missed it. His team did as well. Too much lingering towards the backing, including Michael Matthews at the top of the day. With 99 kilometres to go, somebody will be ordering an ice cream before you know it. But it is cooler today, around about 23, 24 Celsius. But there is a wind blowing up. And we've got a direction change coming up as well as we come through Courzoban. We are going to be heading due south until we get to our intermediate sprint. Wind has been a massive factor and may well get magnified, Danny.
Yeah, like you said, Carlton, 89 kilometres to go. There'll be a change in direction. It's not for long. It's only around 4 kilometres. But the critical one for me is at 59.5 kilometres to go, where there's a 10-kilometre section of cross tailwind, which is the most conducive wind direction to cause absolute chaos in the peloton or any group, and even more so critical because this is just before these climbs come. Today is hugely back-ended compared to the sprint that we had yesterday. Another opportunity or an opportunist day to use those climbs in the final and then a fast run into Po. So it was interesting to hear from Groenewegen there and the team of Jaco Alula, who have also been one of the teams working behind. So I don't think it's not just the GC teams behind in the peloton who are worried about this. There's also these 3 sprint teams in Jaco Alula, Cofidis and Arkea B&B who also want this to come back for their opportunities today.
They've got to, Robbie.
Well,
they've got to work.
They've got to. I mean, the Tour de France only has 21 stages, and when you've earmarked a particular stage, you've got to go out and get it. No one's going to hand it to you. So I understand that the sprint team's chasing behind even this far to go because it's such a high-powered break. It's going to take a lot of chasing.
There are so many different kinds of riders who've won into Po in the past. Climbers, rouleurs, sprinters, even time trialists, of course. In 2019, Julien Alaphilippe was the man who held on to yellow while Geraint Thomas was breathing down his neck. Today, well, we're getting over towards the Pyrenees, which means it's moderated the temperatures just a little bit, but the racing has been absolutely white hot. Just hovering in on Steve Williams at the moment and looking at his rolling pace of 55 kilometres per hour. Today has been quick. The average is about 48.5 so far, and this is in a calmer section that we are dealing with. It's been anything but so far today. 7 teams chasing, 50 seconds the gap right now, but there's too much firepower up the road, Danny, for this to go easily. This gap is going to be hard to eat into. It's going to need a cohesive battle by those behind if they're going to close it. At least now more teams who've missed the break are involved.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see the firepower in this breakaway or this front group of riders, and it is going to be tough behind, and it's going to be a case of teams having to offer up more riders in that chase as we get closer and closer to the finish. Robbie said about some of the teams just kind of risking to in their pursuit to win today's stage, but ultimately this gap is being held by these front group of riders. So I think there's going to come a time where they simply have to offer up more help in the pursuit of closing this gap down.
Robbie, the Visma move that tried to, I think, possibly catch out Evenepoel, not quite sure, but Pogacar joined it. Evenepoel was late to the party but got there. Was there any sense in them pushing on? Was there anyone left behind that they would have liked to have dealt with? It seemed like almost a hiding to nothing at one point.
Well, Carlton, as that happens, Robbie's exited and I'm in, and
hello,
Magnus Cort is on the attack. Julian Bernard just behind him, Kwiato following him, but this is the danger within this group, and this is one of the big reasons why they'd start to come back right now, is the faffing around, the playing that they'll start to do. Rather than work together, this would be advantage peloton. But Magnus Cort, we've seen him in this situation before. He's done well out of this situation before when he's been in a group, attacked it, taken advantage of it, because this would be perfect now for a lot of teams. Adam Yates moving to the side of the road, as Danny's pointing out. That group just needs to stay cohesive between them.
I'm quite surprised this is happening so early on, with still 95.3 kilometres to go as well, and with the exposed section still to come. To me, their best option or their best chances of making it to the line would be to, like Adam said, work cohesively together, share that workload, not disrupt the momentum and the cohesion of this group.
Would you want to come to the line with Mathieu van der Poel and all them
I
other
wouldn't,
riders?
but still with 95 kilometres to go and the climbs that we've got in the back end in that last 50 kilometres, there's other opportunities to do it later on.
Is Kwiatkowski, I mean, him being here, he clearly wasn't the battle plan, because Ineos Grenadiers were busy trying to work on that gap as well at one point, Adam.
They were, yeah, and, you know, they've every right to be with Adam Yates there, but at the same time, they've great opportunity to win the stage. Kwiato is a master tactician. He's very, very clever, very, very good at it. And if he's in this little move here, he's done it for a reason. You know, these guys will commit together, they'll work together, they'll ride hard together, and Kwiato in there, he'll rally those three riders with him to be able to do that, you know, really push them on, egg them on a little bit. And by doing this, they've got rid of trying to worry about the other riders' tactics in the background, because there's so many riders behind still that they'll be looking at each other to, you do that work, I'll do this work. And one of the main things in that group is Vandenberg from EF. He's a very, very fast sprinter, super fast. He's got two teammates with Nielsen in there and Rui Costa as well. So I think just getting ahead of those guys and taking that threat of a super fast guy out of it, it's a good plan to have.
It's almost a stare down at the moment, Danny, isn't it? With only 10 seconds between them. Sorry to just interrupt you there. 9 seconds. At least this is the first skirmish, I think, within this group, if this doesn't stick. But who's going to pick it up, Danny and Bridge, here?
Yeah, you could say that for Jonas Abrahamsson, he's looking to take more points on those on the climbs later on in the stage. But I was just going to mention, you know, it's always so important to have a rider like Kwiatkowski in a move like this, that captain role. He is the captain of the Ineos team. He knows how to win bike races, but you generally find that
I am
it is
knackered.
the rider with the most experience and
Absolutely.
knows how to get the most out of the group that they're in.
Shot.
Just starting the move. Here it is. From this break, no cohesion in the chase, but the four have managed to separate themselves. A modest margin at the moment, Adam, of 11 seconds. It's stickable, though, isn't it, with the quality we've got up here?
It is, yeah. It's just interesting that Magnus Cort's gone on the attack with the points on offer available for Abrahamsson a little bit later on. Yes, they're not many points at all. They're not going to make too much of a dent into these in his points competition for the King of the Mountains jersey, but there's no real rider that is going to just start to bring it back. It needs to be every single one of them. It needs to be all of them. And look, now you can see there's attacks going from this group, and the more they start to do this, is the harder it's going to be to bridge across them. Paulus just not having that look over his shoulder by the looks of things. Probably wrong, but yeah, it's going to get interesting within this group.
The sun is out, the wind is up, as we know, and we are now riding down some narrower country lanes. There's a big left-hander that I've just gone by about 2 or 3 kilometres ago. Because the gap is so narrow between the break and the peloton, we're now right in front of the race. We're moving on to some much narrower lanes. We've been on pretty main roads for the vast majority of the day, and these aren't super narrow, but they are significantly narrower than we saw before. Twisting and turning as well. A big drop off either side. There's a drainage ditch to the right and indeed to the left. Not quite as much margin for error, and a bit of a grippier surface. And importantly as well, we've now picked up a chuffer, which is slang for a tailwind, and we know what a tailwind equals: fun and frolics. Back to the commentators.
Thank you, Matt, and a whole load of pace, Danny, as well.
It is a whole lot of pace, and you can see, and I was going to say the onus would be on EF, because they are the team with 3 riders, the most riders in this front group. But Nelson Paulus was one of those riders to come down in that crash yesterday, and he's starting today's stage with a fractured wrist, I believe it is. So that is why he is struggling at this point.
Just Brent Van Moor is just trying to close this down to give Anaerobic just a chance to stay within that group, get some more protection. Having a teammate is an absolutely golden thing when you're in this kind of situation, Adam. You can you have your protected rider like Anaerobic, most certainly, but Brent Van Moor is doing a mighty job at the moment. Might see him just pop into position. He's got some help as well. Others are interested now. 15 seconds though. This is the way that the big break actually formed. We had a holding pattern, didn't we, of around between 27 and 35 seconds for kilometre after kilometre. In a certain sense, with those gaps, it's almost like a slow motion bicycle race. The gaps are modest. Even back to the peloton, it's still only a minute and 12, Adam.
On the contrary about the teammate, though, Carlton, it is difficult to have a teammate within this group. As soon as you have one teammate within this group, you're looked upon. You're relied upon to do that work. The other riders, you've got a teammate in there. Get one of your riders to chase. Get one of your riders to do that. All of them are trying hard. All of them are on the limit. So it's not about looking at them. And look, you've got Rui Costa and Vandenberg in second towards the back, and then his teammate right towards the front, just in front of him. It's great to have a teammate in terms of bottles, feeding, sharing the workload, but in this situation, every other person is going to look to you. Well, you've got two teammates in this group. Start to chase.
The onus is on you then to do the majority of the work. I think at this stage, the reason why we've got this group that's attacked this front group is that they're trying to form a new group without Adam Yates to have more of an opportunity of going all the way to the line.
It's beautiful roller coaster countryside at the moment. Just look at the pace. It's undiminished. I know we're on a little downhill section here, but goodness me, they've taken the bit between the teeth. Magnus Cort started this move. Romain Gregoire, Julien Bernard and Mikhail Kwiatkowski are here. Kwiatkowski just having a look-see. You always want to know what the composition of the riders who are with you, and also you want to see whether they are indeed suffering. Let's see, 27 seconds. It's expanded, Danny.
It has indeed, and like you said, Carlton, information as to the composition of the groups, where everyone lies on GC, potentially strengths and weaknesses, although these riders will know each other very well, having raced with each other for years and years, but that information will be relayed from the Director Sportif as well, with extra information on the road as to what's coming up ahead, if there's any weather changes that are going to occur, where the feeds are, where their staff are on the side of the road, the soigneurs and the like. So all of that information critical. Just going back here to the back of the peloton, a couple of riders at the medical car, it looks like to me.
Certainly is. It's the only car you're allowed to hold on indefinitely while you're being treated. Well, tummy upsets potentially. Who knows? No idea what has been asked for by the rider, but sickness has washed through, I'm afraid, the race. We've heard many a rider indeed have been affected by it, and we've seen it with our own eyes as well. Some self-declared, like Mikkel Mørkøv. Others, well, teams being very, very cagey about it. Visma Lease Bike turning up today for signing with masks on, Adam. It doesn't bode well.
It doesn't bode well, Carlton, and it's awful that COVID is coming round again within the peloton and sickness, but sickness has always happened within the Tour de France, but it just seems with the stages that we've had and the hard racing that they had, that their immune
Yeah, it was a push.
pushed right to the limit in each and every day. As you see Phil Bauer.
Time for food.
A mechanical problem, looks like he's changed his bike, taking his bike computer off.
See you all
bottles off,
tomorrow.
waiting for his team car to come along.
88 kilometres to go, just under half a minute from our now fractured breakaway. Mati Mohoric, by the way, from Bahrain victorious, one of those up the road. Tom Squinch has been left in arrears as Julien Bernard, his teammate, has gone off up the road. Adam Yates remains.
Oh man, fuck.
Just for now, and the peloton at 1:21. Gosh, it's still very compact considering the amount of kilometres that we've done.
It's got to be like 260. All right, tomorrow. Oi, 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 oi.
Just popped out a few moments ago. Great wine country as well down here. We're heading today to Madiba, which is the southernmost red, I believe, in France. Rather dismissively referred to as Spanish wine within France. Yes, I rather like it. Welcome back, everybody. We're just about to cruise over the halfway mark of today's stage. And
Absolutely shot.
Quickly. We are looking at an average pace of nudging up to 48 kilometers per hour. And at any one time, depending on how the wind is blowing, we're having our pace, or at least the effort required to keep the pace changing.
See you tomorrow.
It's hard to get comfortable on a day like today in so many different ways. What was that, Adam? It was a turning upside down of a bottle.
Rodriguez was giving the bottle back. Can't drop litter, so it's fair enough. I was just having a little giggle. Normally see it the other way.
Yeah. There we are, done with that one. Temperature moderated today, but the racing's been absolutely white hot. It's been wonderful. We're just heading around the peloton. Sean Kelly's back with a smile on his face and some breadsticks. He'll be tucking into those a little bit later on. If you hear some gnawing in the background, that's what that is. Keep your fluids where they need to be, Danny, even when the temperatures start to fall. And we're down to around 24 Celsius today, which is pleasant.
It is very pleasant, and yeah, I totally agree, Carlton. It's not just about, you know, how hot it is out there, it's hydration throughout the stages and fuel in your body. So yeah, critical that these riders are taking on sustenance and hydration from their bottles throughout every single stage, despite how hot it is out there.
Dare we go to John for a brief one before the intermediate sprint lifts up. So many vines, John. I imagine you've been chomping at the bit to try and have a word.
I have. I mean, today's recipe, I have actually included the fact that if people would so wish, you being one of those people, you could enjoy it with a glass of Madeira. Because I know over the years that we've bashed heads about this particular wine. I personally prefer some of the white wines that come from this region. You can get some really outstanding white wines, the Clos de Gascon being one in particular, but you also get lovely Armagnac, a lot of Armagnac grown around, the grapes for Armagnac grown around here. Although I have always been told that to be a proper Frenchman you drink cognac and Armagnac's just for tourists. I don't believe that for a second. I think Armagnac's fantastic, but then again I'm English.
John was once given an extraordinarily expensive bottle of Armagnac, I believe. Was this one you quaffed accidentally, John?
No. That was a gift to my dad on his 60th birthday, and it was one from the year of his birth, which was 1944. I will not be doing the same for his 80th birthday this year.
Oh, I see. Sorry, it was your generosity. For some reason, I had it in my mind that you'd actually drunk it while he was away on holiday or something. But anyway.
I mean, it does sound like something I do, but no, that isn't the case.
All right, thank you, John. Did you mention your recipe today?
I
briefly?
haven't done the recipe yet today.
Maybe we'll have some space after the intermediate sprint.
Okay,
if it's a long one. Just tell us what it is, and then we'll get back to this.
Yeah, it's pomme salades. So they're the potatoes from this region, but they're not salad potatoes as we discussed earlier.
All right, there we are. Samin Geska, a big engine is just what you need if you've got a job to do. And as you can see, the peloton at the moment sits at 1 minute and 25. In terms of the pursuers, 38 seconds now, Danny. This is a significant gap, and it looks solid to the quartet who are off the front at the moment.
Yeah, it does look solid, and they're clearly, you know, with the intent of taking this all the way to the line. The riders that we've got in that composition, you know, the parkour favours them. We've got a lumpier terrain in the final, so yeah,